Yitzhak Abed-Reed. Now, why am I out here tonight on the Sabbath, you might ask? Well, I want to speak on matters of renunciations. Brother Daniel and I have spoken a lot about renunciations, all right? And there are a lot of different forms of renunciations that we must do as believers in Jesus Christ. And that is so critical to understand right now. Right? And one of the renunciations you're going to have to make in order to be a citizen of the kingdom of God is to renounce your United States citizenship. Alright? And you can email me and ask me later how to renounce your United States citizenship and still be able to live in this country freely. And actually, you gain your freedom by renouncing your United States citizenship through paperwork. Because I'm going to tell you what, look behind me. This is what the Federal Reserve dollar is collapsing upon right now. Stuff like this right behind me. You believe I'm kidding? I'm not going to make this a long Facebook Live because I'm going to go back and have my Sabbath. But what I'm telling you is, this is the kind of stuff the Fed dollar is going to soon collapse on. People do not take this seriously. The national debt has now accumulated beyond $29 trillion. You have $4 gazillion total if you count derivatives, financial instruments, and such. So people are entertaining themselves away by an impending Federal Reserve dollar collapse. You may email me about how you may renounce your United States citizenship, be a free, independent person, and not have all the laws upon you. And I, as a Native American, the state of Texas does not want me to do it because they've made a lot of money off my flesh. And now it's time for you to declare your freedom and make your exodus out. All right, Metayahu Yehukanan. Doin you mean Yitzhak Abed-Reed, a true Native American, speaking to you here on Facebook Live. Yes, on the Sabbath, Shabbat Shalom. Get mad at me. Tell me I'm breaking the Sabbath. This is my Sabbath to be able to talk to you tonight about further on why to renounce your United States citizenship, to renounce all your oaths to this country, all swearing you've ever done in a courtroom, whether in a trial or anything, all swearing, all contracts you ever made, like student loans, mortgage agreements and such, and even these titles and deeds, you fall under a Masonic municipality full of code upon code upon code, property tax laws upon property tax laws and stuff. And that's really what homesteading was supposed to be in the first place. But you go back and look at Austin, Texas, and their code next regulations are going to wipe out all grandfathering clauses in regards to that. So all homesteading will be taken away, and no tax exemptions for seniors either. They're going to get priced out of their own houses through taxation. And that's why I'm going to talk to you today. The state of Texas talks big. Like they can secede from the Union. They never will. Why? Because the original agreement between Marable B. Lamar, Sam Houston, and coming into the Union was, according to my understanding, the agreement between Marable B. Lamar, the first president of the Texas Republic, and then the first governor of Texas, after Sam Houston became the second president of the Republic, is that you were $7 million in debt in 1830 because of all the foolish decisions you made to try to acquire land. Then they had to go get baptized into the Catholic Church to get the land, but they were still on the hook for debt notes. $7 million back in 1830 is a whole lot of money today. We're talking almost $1 trillion, I would say. at this point. And by the way, you didn't have quite the central banking dollar you do today. So it would have been worth a lot more, and it could have gotten you a lot more. Now the devil has made it to where a dollar would have paid maybe some rent or something for the month, but now a dollar can't pay even for a piece of bubble gum. But seriously, I'm encouraging as many of you to really seriously consider getting out of your United States citizenship. There's a lot of legal powers to it, and Brother Daniel and I are looking into it too, a little bit more. You know, I know for sure, several people have attested to me, you're going to be able to walk around more as a free citizen. I don't even think you're going to have to register your vehicle and do all these inspections, and you'll have the right to go and come and go as you please. Now, we know in the time of martial law, when the United Nations comes knocking on your door, you ain't got no rights anyway. But while that hasn't happened yet, you know, it's time to close your birth certificate off the stock market. And that's one of the things this American National Papers are going to do. It's going to close your birth certificate off the stock market, and your birth certificate should be restored to you. And I'll get a greater understanding of these laws as I research them. But it's also true that the more people, see, the Federal Reserve doesn't want you to file American National Papers. And neither does the state which you're born, because they all get rich off of your birth certificate. The state of Texas will lie to you all day long and tell you, we want to secede from the Union, we want to be different from the rest of the nation, but they're more on the hook for coming into the Union based on the absolution of $7 million of their own notes transferred to a United States dollar they had back then before the Federal Reserve Act of 1913. All right? So now Texas ain't never going to be able. They don't intend to. They can't. And they don't intend to. In Texas, you're about as much of a slave there as you are anywhere else, because Governor Abbott's lying to you too. All right? And the more people who file these papers, the Federal Reserve knows they're coming closer to a dollar collapse. And I'm going to tell you one thing. This sounds like a term of revolt, but I do not encourage violence. It will sound like revolt to them, even if you don't have a gun or a knife. Collapse this dollar. Contribute to the collapse of the dollar today. Contribute to the collapse of the dollar today, and let's overthrow it by the power of the pen and by the power of the Holy Spirit. I'm a Native American. I'm a true Native American. They've made a lot of money off my flesh, and the government's going to see to it through false science, through false testing, that I'll never get all the millions of dollars I would have coming to me. But you know what? That's not going to matter, because the dollar is going to collapse. Collapse the dollar. Go file your American National Papers. End this monstrosity, end this tyranny. It actually might be good for a lot more people than you might believe if you contribute to the collapse of the dollar today. That doesn't mean I really want to see people's demise, but you have to think about your own soul. You have to think about your own freedom in Christ. You ought to be able to walk around to and fro as an independent free citizen. Now, I can promise you, if you start making a move towards it, they're going to try to inhibit it with loop. If they refuse, it'll be just like back in the days of Moses, when they were still trying to break free from Egypt. You got to stop trusting in Egypt. I'm not posting any more new videos on YouTube. Okay, and I'm not going to back down on that pledge I've made to you, because a lot of the ministry I'm going to be doing is going to go underground. But at this point, you better consider revoking your United States citizenship through the paperwork process. And Obama wanted to make it so expensive to do it, you couldn't do it. It'd be like, but see, they've made money off my birth certificate. They've made trillions of dollars just off of me, probably. Or at least billions. And I can guarantee you billions. But a lot of you also. A lot of the money that we're in debt is because the banksters and the high-level politicians from the past like Dick Cheney and Bush and all that, they've turned around and stolen all your money. George W. Bush stole the gold, Germany's gold, I guarantee it. George W. Bush stole Germany's gold during 9/11. That whole implosion was just to get that gold that Germany had stored in those towers. From what we know, I can come to that conclusion because that's how George W. Bush has always been. All right, but you want your freedom? You don't have it under a constitution. We're under the Maritimes. We've been under the Maritimes since 1860. Abraham Lincoln declared martial law in Kentucky and Illinois, from my understanding, and it never was truly lifted. And therefore, not only for that state, but based on what you would even see about circuit courts, how circuit courts can make a ruling to determine law. Well, this is the same thing with maritime martial law. We've been under it. Anything goes under maritime martial law. When the gold fringes around the outside of your American flag are lifted up, that means you're under maritime. And I believe they do have that up in certain places in the country. But anyway, yeah, this is my Sabbath tonight. Help us to implode the Federal Reserve dollar. You can't save it. You might as well sink it. Even Trump said that. You're going to have to sink the dollar. And one of the fastest ways you could sink the dollar is for more of you to follow American national papers. That means you're not lifting a sword. That means you're not shooting anybody with a gun. That means you're not invoking violence. The only violence that's going to come is when they try to stop you from exercising your legal rights to get out of your U.S. citizenship. That's the violence. Your government, the Texas government, the Texas Rangers, and the National Guard, and the military, and anybody else like the police will exercise violence against you when you want out of it. You know, last night, Brother Daniel and I were being harassed by police and by somebody else. And they asked us to see our ID. And I said, I'm not going to show you my ID. I'm an American national. And I have done nothing wrong. And he said, well, this is under this kind of law, so we have to. I go, no, sir, I'm not going to show you identification. And he backed down, and they didn't dare do it. Fear it. And more of you need to do it. That's the only way you're going to help save other people who are willing to come out of her, my people, unless you partake in her sins and receive of her plagues. I am now 3 blocks away from that ruckus that played behind me about half an hour ago. Those people long to live in sin down that way towards the south of here, south of City Hall. They want to live in sin. They want to entertain themselves and their flesh. And there's other ways to have fun. That over there is sin. And on that stage, your taxpayer dollars are paying for that music and for starving artists and for all this pagan idolatry around here. It's time to help us collapse the dollar without violence. This is my Sabbath. Shalom, shalom. I reign in peace. I make no apology for saying this because I'm correct. I'm a true Native American. Now what you'll see here is, look in the center of the screen. This is proof that we are and have been under Admiralty maritime martial law. This is the kind of Navy wear you normally see for Admiralty maritime martial law. We have been under martial law since 1860 from Illinois and Kentucky under Abraham Lincoln, from what I do understand as the source for that, and it was never lifted. Your Constitution means nothing to you, but I want you to see this guy keep on marching. This is the style of march, military march. It shows we are under Admiralty maritime martial law. You don't have the rights you think you have. This marching, I'm going to show you something about the march though here in a little bit. The march, he keeps marching back and forth. Look at the march. I want you to tell me what you think this repetitive marching is about. He just keeps marching back and forth with the Admiralty signal. And the bell. What's the bell signify? And the thumbs up. It's all Admiralty maritime martial law. He's got the axe. That's probably what Cain slew Abel with. There's a clue about the bell and the axe. And we'll just give you the answers. What's about the bell, Daniel?
Well, the bell is used a lot in maritime on ships because that was the only thing that could be heard above the squalls. Another thing about this whole thing is I think they're honoring the dead. They're honoring the people who have died on duty. I think that's what this is all about.
Sure.
So basically, zombie. They're honoring the dead. Kind of makes sense.
So this is kind of like a zombie apocalypse walk. This is not. You ain't gonna have zombies being able to run. I can promise you that. But
they're gonna be rotting too quickly.
This guy marching back and forth is like like The Walking Dead. It is. We'll cut it off there. All right, Yahoo, you hooking on here in Las Cruces, New Mexico. This is the very, it goes up another several miles, about 10 miles. This is the northern edge of the Rio Grande. One of the things I am predicting is that when the tsunami hits, and I believe the tsunami will come, the waters will flow northward from the mouth of the Gulf of Mexico through the mouth of the Rio Grande, and the waters will flow up here and flood them. Look how flat this is. And you've got all the ducks way down there, so that's pretty. And look how flat. This is where we are. That's how flat it is. All the way down. This is going to all flood. In fact, where that bridge is, I believe the waters are likely going to flood close to the top of that bridge, which is about 30 feet. Signing out. This is your Rio Grande further north. Look how flat it is. Now, I can't get too far in here because snakes could be here, but right down there it is. This will fill up and overflow right into all these parts right here. All that. Signing out. This is another view a little further south than the last one, but just showing you going north towards Truth or Consequences. These waters, these rivers are going to be filled up. It's been dry here, but if a tsunami comes and hits the mouth of the Rio Grande from the Gulf, that will change. Signing out. So actually what I'm told is this Rio Grande, we're facing north, goes way up towards Truth or Consequences, about an hour, 60, 70 miles from here further. So again, I'm going to tell you, if that East Coast tsunami happens, a lot of that pressure is going to flow into the Gulf, and then it's going to go through the mouth of the Rio Grande. It's going to flow up here, all the way up here. Flooding could happen, and this man Carl told me that the Colorado River intersects the Rio Grande up further north. Signing out. Now this is one example of how we know that what's under here is going to come straight up. That fissure. Right across the street is another one. Another fissure right there. See right there? That is coming up. That's an indication of potential aquifers bursting under here. Now you just saw the spot of that one. Right down there is yet another one. Look at that down there. I'm trying to get on it. It's like right in the middle of the screen right as we speak. Now that one right there is another one as I walk up to it. We are at Picacho, near Picacho and Main Street, near that CVS that we did the rally at. And so you're going to walk all up and down Las Cruces, New Mexico, and see that this town is in serious trouble. It's in very serious trouble. I doubt anybody has ever gotten on YouTube and actually reported on it like I am now. But this is Picacho. There's your CVS. There's your CVS. They're peddling vaccinations right here. So we are approaching the little memorial park here for the so-called pioneers, and I really just wanted this to be a quick short. I'll run another quick short here in a little bit. All right, this is another short. This is there's the Thomas Brannigan Library, and I really want to make this as short as possible. This is kind of like another mural that you'll see. El Rio Grande del Norte, Oñate's Proclamation 1598 by Shan Nichols, copyright Anthony Pinnock 2008. Okay, this is the Rio Grande back then. People were able to swim on it and do whatever on it. This is a mural of what Las Cruces must have been at this point at the Rio Grande. And I can imagine what Thanksgiving Day must have been like. Day of Thanksgiving, the Feast of L'Ascension 1598, and the copyrights and the titles are the same. The Manso Snake Dance, Tortugas Peak, 1598. Again, there's your mural. La Doña Ana Mendoza de la Madrid, 1598. This is part of what the conquistadors must have done to integrate themselves into what we would have known as the Native American life. I'll cut this short and I'll show you another one shortly. I can show you how in many places they've had to reseal and reconcrete this park many times over. Some of this actually looks like the original outlay of the park. Okay, so much for your parks, huh? So much for masonry in your parks. So much for your Egypt. Look right here. Look at all this cracking. I am exposing the fact that this stuff's going to come up. This kind of land is not made for masonry and concrete. You're in the middle of a desert. I gather even the grass here is not really belong here. There's sand under this grass, and I'll show you proof of that right here, and I'll show you some more cracks and fissures right here. Okay, right here. That's sand under there. That's not dirt. You're able to tell. I'll give you a better look at that. Here's more cracks coming up. More cracks here. Cracks. You can make all the flood channels you want to. The city's not going to survive the flood that I believe is coming to it. Now look, I'd rather be proven wrong, but I continue to tell you, I showed you, I was at the Rio Grande doing this, and I'll show you some more shorts.